Hello. Today is October 31st. It's a Halloween for everybody in the US, and if you celebrate, um, it's a SIG Node weekly meeting. Welcome, everybody. We are at code freeze soon, so all the topics today are about code freeze, I believe. And first topic from me about sidecars. So I want to share the progress on sidecar cap. On sidecar cap, we in the beginning of cycle we agreed on a scope for beta, and scope included mostly things about termination. We agreed that we don't need API change, so it was simpler decision, simpler change to understand, and it wasn't that complicated. But when we started implementation, we caught a problem. We successfully implemented termination ordering, so we can terminate sidecars in a correct order. But when we started implementing a restart on termination, we find out that major refactoring will be needed for sync loop. So right now, the feature we want to implement is to allow sidecars to be restarted while the pod is in termination state. So scenario for that will be something is terminating for too long, like for 30 minutes, and it's by design. So there is a pod that doing some cleanup, and it needs 30 minutes to clean up. And sidecar is some monitoring containers that send some metrics. So if this sidecar crash for some reason, we want to make sure that the sidecar will be restarted, and it will keep sending metrics even past the pod deletion timestamp. So the problem in code is after deletion timestamp is set, we stop sync loop, and without sync loop, we have no way to continue restarting sidecars. So what we have right now, we merge the code that will terminate in order, but we don't have a code that will restart in order, and this is a bigger change that probably will need need some bake time by its own. So the suggestion we have from sidecar working group is we want to keep the code as is today with termination ordering, and introduce a new feature gate for the cap that will have its own progression through alpha and beta. So basically have split the cap into two caps. One is for sidecar, how it's supposed to be working without restarts. And another cap is, or feature gate as part of a main cap for restarts during pod termination. Another reason for that split is this restart after pod termination start will also help us solve the long-standing problems about post-start hook locking down the termination. So if you still running a post-start hook and termination starts, it will be blocked for duration of post-start, which is bad, and it's go past graceful termination. So there are many reasons for that. That's why this refactoring may need to go through its own progression of graduation. I want to hear any objections for this plan. It will mean that we will graduate sidecar in almost whole potential or almost all functionality, and then maybe in 131, if everything goes smooth, we will have restarts during the graceful termination.
Makes sense to me, Sergey.
Yeah, and I discussed it with Clayton. I didn't discuss this plan specifically. I discussed the code change, and Clayton also very supportive to make this refactoring, but very afraid of making it anytime fast. So I don't want to rush it, but at the same time, I don't want to block feature gate of sidecar on this refactoring. And I understand this liability. I think we have a working group, and working group is quite active, so we will continue pushing for that. Okay, and Derek saying +1 on the chat. So if this is agreed, I will continue with the plan, and we will graduate sidecar as a beta without this small feature, and we will send update to enhancement repository to indicate the plan.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you. So next on agenda is Mark.
Yeah, I was just hoping to get some reviewers to take a look at the PR that I linked in the agenda. This was for the specifying the runtime class in all of the image calls, and I believe the CRI API changes went in a while ago, and this is the implementation for it behind a feature gate. And I think that we're pretty much on or have consensus, and I see actually Mike just LGTM'd it now too. So I'm just hoping we can get this in by code freeze.
Yeah, I can take a look. Derek, I know you were looking at it too. Did you have any concerns?
Yeah, I'll take a look as well. I think I think I had a question on one of the PRs on if it would confuse in, I think, one of the container D scenarios, how we do image garbage collection. I don't know if there was, or maybe I'm mixing up the PRs. If I'm not mistaken, wasn't the motivation for this to be able to have a different image pool based on runtime class?
Right.
Yeah, and so I think the question I had on the PR was basically like when the kubelet lists images through the CRI in that situation, does it get a disambiguated list of, like, if the same image was pulled twice, I guess, based on different runtime class choice?
Yeah, if the container like runtime like container D implements the changes needed for the steps, then it would respond to list images with a list of images and the runtime classes that were used to pull those images. And if nothing was specified, it's just going to be like an empty string for the runtime handler. So depending on that, it would make a call to remove image. And if the container runtime honors the changes for the cap, then it would also take in the runtime handler in the remove calls and
Yeah,
do
so
what's
just
needed.
I think that to clarify the question, then be like, when we list images, we might see the same image listed twice with different runtime handler keys, and then
Correct, yeah.
when the kubelet tries to figure out if an image is in use, then I assume that section of logic in the kubelet needs to be updated to be runtime handler aware.
Yeah, we have changed that in the PR.
Okay, if I missed it, I guess when I was looking.
It was a late add, Derek. It's in there now.
Okay, that was my last review on it, so it's good that that was my only concern at the time. So cool that it's there.
Was there any
Mike pointed it out. Yeah.
Was there any problems with earlier versions of kubelet? If 128 is used or 129 is used with new container D?
It shouldn't, from the changes that we have added. If the runtime handler is not specified, I mean, it's going to be like forward compatible as well for older kubelet versions.
All right. So I think
Needs testing should be okay.
Hey, Mrinal, do you have a question?
Yeah, I think like Derek and I will pick a pass, and hopefully we should be able to approve it today.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
And last topic for today is Peter.
Hey, so I wanted to bring something to people's attention that on the drop-in configuration cap. Sohan and I have been working on this for the last couple of days. Sohan found a bug when running the end-to-end test, where basically the way that it's a combination of like machine API machineries, like handling of setting defaults for the kubelet configuration, and the way that Mergo sort of then interprets that and merges the two configurations causes this bug where, like, if any of the configurations there's like a handful of fields that basically get overridden by the default after a while. So the feature is not currently working as we hoped. My dream would be to fix it, but not push to beta in 129, but I realize that that's a really tight timeline and we haven't actually figured out how to fix it. I'm talking with the API machinery people now, getting some advice on basically using similar strategies as server-side apply. But I'm not super hopeful that we can find a solution that works and then come to consensus in time. But I just wanted to highlight that if I happen to do that and people happen to be around to review and approve it, that'd be really cool, because then we could have a full release of alpha where it actually works and then push for beta in 130, as opposed to missing 129 and then needing to fix it for 130 and then not being able to push to beta to 131. So that's just the situation. It is all kind of pending on Sohan and I kind of figuring it out. Yeah, if anyone's around to take a look later and we happen to get that to work, I'd really appreciate it. And if not, no worries.
Yep, ping us, but I think we are less than 8 hours away, Peter. So
yeah, I understand. It's yes, not ideal timing. All right, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Foundate. I think
I think one quick one, Derek, I was looking at the eviction changes. Could appreciate another pair of eyes if you have time. The one that Kevin was working on. I'll share the PR.
Okay.
Okay, with that, we at the end of agenda. If there is anything else, please speak up. Otherwise, let's get some time back. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks again.